In this video, we'll be covering how to configure floating condenser control or saturated condenser control in SM800A System Manager. So here we're in the dashboard or home view of our 800A through StoreView Web. So we will get into the configuration screens for the condenser. So under configuration, control, and refrigeration, we should have an option for condenser at the top. A lot of the settings here aren't necessarily just for saturated control. These could be just standard condenser settings. So a lot of these may be set already, depending on whether or not you're doing an initial configuration of the condenser or just switching from one control type to another. So we'll just focus in on the relevant settings for saturated condenser control in this video. So we'll start with our second parameter down, control sensor. You can see some of the options we have here: drop leg temp, discharge pressure. We'll go ahead and choose saturated condensing temp. And then if we go a little further down, we have three more settings that I'll highlight: minimum condensing temp, maximum condensing temp, and delta T. Delta T is something that should come from the condenser manufacturer spec. This will be the temperature differential we're looking to achieve between the ambient temperature value, or the outside temperature, versus saturated value, where we will take the drop leg pressure transducer, convert that to a temperature based on the refrigerant type, and use that to compare against the ambient value. So this value, somewhere typically I'd say between 8 and 15 degrees, is what we typically expect to see here. Minimum and maximum condensing temperatures are a range of set points that we would allow. So if we take our ambient temperature and add the 15-degree delta to it, if that value is below 60 degrees, then we will choose 60 degrees as our set point so that it doesn't get too low, and this is adjustable. And then the same on the high side. If we have an ambient temperature plus 15 degrees that's above our max condensing temp set point, then we would use this value in place of that delta T value. So these are two values you also want to set. Once we have these settings in place, our next step would be to confirm that we have everything addressed. So again, specific to the saturated condensing temperature, because we're going to assume in this video we already have our condenser fan relays or variable output configured. Here are the two things that are a must for saturated condensing temperature: our outside temperature sensor. So I already have that assigned here as 112. PT1000 is a standard sensor type that we see for outdoor temp sensors. And then drop leg pressure transducer is the second input that we have to make sure we have configured. Again, could be different sensor types. Most common for us is the AK-SM 32500. And now we have that assigned. Once we have those two values assigned, assuming the board's online and those values are reading okay, we can go to our status screen from the home screen of StoreView Web. And here we can see what our values are just to compare and get an idea of control. So again, our outdoor temperature is 62.9. Because we have that 15-degree delta T programmed in, the target we're trying to achieve is 77.9. And the current saturated value, which is again our drop leg pressure transducer converted into a saturated temperature based on the refrigerant type, is 82.3. So our current value that we're looking to control off of is actually above our target. So we would be either ramping fans up if we had variable speed control, or adding capacity through relays if it was fixed on off control.